This program will cover mature topics such as sex and sexuality, and is meant for education and entertainment only.
You're listening to Sexually Charged Radio at the University of Guelph on CFRU 93.3 FM and online at cfru.ca. Welcome to Sexually Charged Radio. I am your co-host, Ruthie. I am here with our wonderful co-host, Dorothy. Hello, Dorothy.
Hello.
And our co-host, Thomas. Hello, Thomas.
Hello, Ruthie.
Today we are going to be talking about infidelity, so cheating. I want us to really make this real and personal. So I'm going to start with, have you ever been on either or both sides of cheating? The one who has cheated or the one who has been cheated upon? And since should I go first? Because it's a really awful question to ask other people. Because it's very personal and very taboo, right? Or does somebody else want to answer?
I mean, we did consent before we started to air that this was going to be a question coming. So I feel like it's not an awful question to ask us. So I can go first.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you feel like sharing more?
Yes.
Great.
I feel like I'm on the stand. I have been on both sides. I have been cheated upon, and I have done some cheating. Now I'm smacking.
Yeah, we were talking about smacking teeth earlier. See, it's not just people from Wisconsin.
It's I find it difficult to talk about because there's a lot of guilt associated with it. I feel bad that I did the cheating. I think there were contextual factors, and we might be getting into that as we go into the show. But doing it, is not a point of pride in my life. And having been cheated upon is also not a proud moment in my life. There's a lot of hurt and pain that came from that. So this is a very real topic for me from both sides. I'll leave it there.
All right. Do you want to go next, or shall I?
I'll gun it.
Do it.
Yeah. I've the same. I've cheated and been cheated on. It's really hard. It's really awkward. And I found for myself when I was doing the cheating, I'm going to be honest, I did slightly enjoy it. I don't know why. I don't know if it was like a little bit of the mystery. I was young, and it was fun. And then got to the point where, I was going home to my other partner, and you're just like, oh, now I feel icky. And then when I got cheated on, it was years later then that really put into perspective how shitty of a person I had been before.
Yeah, I have also been on both sides of it, and then I've also been on both sides of it where I'm not even sure if it qualified as cheating, but it felt shitty, either to do or to have done, right? So people often think that because I do non-monogamy that it's not possible to cheat or be cheated on. This is not true. But I also have not always done non-monogamous relationships. So, when I was a young adult, it was supposed to be a monogamous relationship, and I definitely cheated it wasn't an ongoing. Well, I did some things that were borderline, right? That maybe were probably against the assumed agreement that we had, but never really stuff we talked about out loud. Like, is it okay to have a personal ad up if I don't follow up on it? Is it okay to exchange dirty emails? We didn't do texting back then yet. So, and I'm just not going to ask, and I'm going to assume it's okay. But if they'd have done it, I would have felt betrayed, right? So there's that zone. But then I actually did do some actual factual, no debate about it, cheating. And I have to say that it was a great decision on my part because the relationship was terrible. And it really, I, for whatever reason, was not capable of seeing how terrible the relationship was. And the affair that I had was really lovely. And it gave me a compare and contrast. It was, there are better ways to have handled that for sure. I'm not thinking that I did everything the right way. But I actually don't regret that I did it, but it also helps the other person was cheating on me quite prolifically, so I don't have that sense of guilt that I found out. So then I'm like, oh, it's not that I did this to somebody who would have never done the same or something.
Yeah. So
that kind of changes it a little bit. And then I've certainly been cheated on more, so I stopped doing the cheating thing and went for consensual non-monogamy, and it's not that well, actually, I don't know, so I'm not going to say that other thing. So I'm really good at consensual non-monogamy and following my rules around that. I sometimes I have to clarify, and nobody's ever completely perfect, but I'm a lot better at that than I'm at non-monogamy, that's for sure. But yeah, I've had partners who had the full opportunity to be having whatever kinds of sexual relationships they want with other people, as long as they're using protection, and they cheated anyway by breaking the agreements that we had, like about just letting each other know if that has happened recently or something. Oh. And so yeah, both sides of it for sure. So, all right, cheating. None of us are blameless in this game, and we all have empathy in both directions, perhaps. So that's good. So yeah, there's somebody who was going to talk about a cheating partner thing or story. Was that you, Dorothy? Or
yeah, that's me.
All right, so tell us about your friend.
Well, it's an awkward one though because they're together. Their significant other's gone a fair bit of time, so then she's left sitting alone, wondering. So then that was the first go-to. Is like, well, I'm going to go find someone else. My needs aren't being satisfied. They're gone all the time. When they do come home, they're tired.
And she's wondering if her partner's cheating too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're gone so much, and when they get home, they're tired. That it's just this disconnect that's happened. So then she just endeavors into other people to satisfy these needs.
Yeah, and both emotional and physical.
Yeah. I find sometimes it's way more, I don't know, for her at least, it really is just the physical. Like, she just really wants to have sex. That's, yeah. Oh.
It's interesting because in therapy world, for a long time in training, kind of what we train people was, as therapists, was to assume that there were emotional needs that were not being met, and that's why people cheat. And I always thought, you know what? Like, I think some people just cheat for the pleasure. Yeah. Just putting that out. I don't think that's a cool thing to say out loud, but I think, but also, when you say, well, I'm cheating because my emotional needs aren't being met, or even my physical needs aren't being met, then you are kind of putting some of it on the other person, which may be appropriate or may just make you feel better. If you're just like, you know what? I just really like the way this other person touches me. That really does put it all on you. Yeah.
Well, and there's the excitement of cheating, too.
Yes, it can be very exciting.
Very exciting.
There's the mystery, who am I going to find, or am I going to be found out?
Forbidden element, yeah.
Here's this person who, because they're out of bounds, they're really attractive. But then as soon as, you're actually available, then you're like, no, they're not that good, are they? No.
Just in that heightened, excited moment. And you can be anyone you want to be. And that other person can be too. Like, I'm not, Rhonda with 3 kids and a stressful job that I'm afraid I'm going to get fired from and a dog that keeps pooping the floor. I'm this sexy, hot person who, does this thing and says these things and whatever, and this other part of my life doesn't even exist in this moment. Not that all affairs are that. Some are very personal and very relationship-y, right, for sure, but you have the opportunity to do that.
It's true. And I think for my friend, for example, it's just the time alone that you just kind of make these things up in your head, and then she just gunned it. Like, that's what she wanted. She's alone a lot, so why not?
And she's assuming that partner is too. So I wonder if that feels like a balancing out at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot more common than we give the human race credit for. That when there is that distance, there is a longing that develops. And if that longing isn't acknowledged between the individuals in that relationship, things can fester. You can become more anxious that the other person is cheating on you. You can, feel those unsatisfied needs are just going to eat away at you in different ways, that you just really are looking for something. And with those happening, people traveling for work more often or long-distance relationships, those senses or those emotions are quite natural or normal, and it's how we choose to respond to them that I think determines how well that situation works out for all individuals involved.
When I was a kid, I went to Catholic high school, and they would tell us that if you've ever been cheated on, you can never trust that person again. And you should never date anyone who's ever cheated on anyone else before, because once a cheater, always a cheater, right? And I remember when I was an adolescent, and it was this notion that if anybody ever cheated on me, that would be the deal breaker. And of course I would never do it to anyone else, right? Like, cause I would never be that kind of monster. But if anybody did that, like, I'm just like, it's over, right? And then, you grow up and you kind of realize that, well, that's the reality for some people. That doesn't end up being a lot of people's reality. I don't know. So that's a couple of things. So do you think once a cheater, always a cheater? Come on, my fellow cheaters. What do we think of this?
No, I would definitely say not. And the one thing, I just thought of this. So the other day someone put on Facebook, it was this guy that I know, that it was about flirting. And he said that it was one of those things that people put up, and it was basically, if you're going out and flirting with someone else, that's a form of cheating, because now you're showing affection that you should show towards your partner. That's, I don't know, where's this line then, where does it end? Because he was very strong on that opinion, obviously, that he posted for everyone to see. And for me, I don't know, like, I don't think that that's bad. I don't think flirting's bad at all.
I don't even know for sure what counts as flirting. Like, there's some stuff I could say, like, yeah, like, if I'm like, hey there, hot body, like, I hope I never say that. But, like, that would be flirting, right? But, if somebody does something nice for me, I'm like, hey, and, like, I'm like, thanks so much, and give them a little wink, like, in a way that's almost just like a feminine thing. So I wouldn't even know where the line is for what flirting is sometimes.
Well, that's what I was thinking. So it's like, in a form of that, like, I'm a very flirtatious person, so I would be a cheater for the rest of my life then. Like, you should condemn me. But in general, if I'm in a committed relationship, I don't cheat. Like, I don't look out for it. I like to be in a committed relationship. It's something that I do enjoy myself. So,
yeah,
personally,
yeah. Once a cheater, always a cheater? What do you think?
I would have to disagree with that. And actually, when you said that you learned it in your Catholic school, I was like, did we go to the same Catholic school? Or is that just part of the curriculum across, the whole world?
There seems to be a big book that they largely teach from.
Yeah. The Bible?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Bible, yeah.
God, we're going to get some angry messages now.
Sorry, student affairs message readers.
I can't agree with that, because I think there are so many other factors that play into why cheating happens. And, the context of that relationship that you're in may warrant cheating. So if you're in an abusive relationship, that cheating might be your out, as you had talked about earlier.
Which was definitely my situation, yeah.
And if it's the case of, you're just in it because you feel like you have to be in it, not even from an abusive standpoint, but you're not the kind of person who can get yourself out.
You don't do the singlehood in between. You are a person who transitions from one relationship to the next.
Yeah, I think the cheating happens, but it doesn't dictate how you're going to treat future relationships. I think you find different people and you negotiate what works for you and what works for the other person. And then maybe it becomes an open relationship, or maybe is a closed monogamous relationship, but that works for what both of you are looking for, and you both can give each other what you're looking for. Then I don't think that cheating is, destined to happen.
Well, and hopefully that becomes a learning about oneself. So if you don't know how to end a relationship without cheating to move into the next one, it might be something to focus on to learn to be a bit more kind with the partner that you're leaving, right? But that doesn't mean you're going to do it forever and for everything. And maybe it is contextually related. Like you can't go without the next thing for whatever reason. I have certainly been in relationships where I have decided that the other person's cheating was an indicator of general dishonesty that I wasn't paying attention to or giving credit to at the time, and that for whatever pushed me over them to be like, oh yeah, and they also this, and they lie about that, and I really don't think they're being honest about this. And so it became indicative of a dishonesty pattern. So it wasn't that it's cheaters for life, or for the life of the relationship, so much as this person is generally, I think, not being honest with me, and this is one of the aspects of that happening. But we will be honest with you that you were listening to 93.3 FM in the Guelph area. Thomas, how can people listen to us online?
So you can listen to Sexually Charged Radio online by searching us on YouTube, Sexually Charged Radio, or you can go to cfru.ca and look up our past episodes on there.
Folks can email in questions at asksc@uofguelph.ca, and the lovely students over at Student Wellness, which is part of Student Affairs at the University of Guelph, will field those questions and send some of them on over to us. And they're not going to tell us if you don't like the thing I said about religion, so don't bother right now.
Yeah, don't send hate mail. We'll be sad.
Yes. So cheating and cheating. So certainly, I disclosed cheating, and then I would say that, to the best of my recollection, because I had a lot of relationships, I don't believe that I have cheated since then. Now, were there areas in that gray zone where, maybe I should have had the conversation first instead of after, or we didn't really iron it out and I made an assumption that was inaccurate? Sure. And that's like a live and learn and be accountable and continue the conversation sort of situation. But I would say, as far as an intentional, knowing act of cheating, I haven't done that since then. And a large part of that for me has been figuring out what I need out of relationships and monogamy or non-monogamy, and holding myself accountable for communicating that, but also for not getting into relationships where that's not going to happen. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
So I've got a question for you both, building off of this. So if we think about cheating as bringing in a third party, there's somebody you're cheating with. You're cheating on your partner, but you're cheating with someone else. Mm-hmm. Do you need to tell that person you're in a relationship? Or or do you keep that a secret?
You know what? That's a really good question.
And then just while you're thinking about that, to add another layer, if you were that third person, so you weren't the one in the relationship, but somebody was in a relationship and wanted to engage with you.
That's actually been a thing that I've had to iron out in my consensually non-monogamous relationships. To what degree am I responsible if I'm having casual hookups with people to make sure that they're not married, or to ask them if they are cheating on anyone? And whether I should ask them if they're cheating on anyone, if they put right out in their personal ad or whatever, or their app, profile, married and cheating or whatever, then do I immediately not engage with those people? If it's in a public sex space, do I have to pause and ask people if they're cheating when they're with me? And so this has been a thing that I've had to iron out, because my expectations around it is, it's their business how they run their game. And it's not my job to make other people behave well, even if I know they're misbehaving. And that has been a problem for some of my closer partners over the years. And so that became something that we had to discuss. And I had to change my ways. And actually, I think it challenged me to be a better person that I didn't necessarily want to take responsibility for being. But yeah, that has definitely been a thing. These are good questions. What are your thoughts, Dorothy?
Just from my experience, I knew the person, they knew me, so I would go that way. I think that not telling someone, if I met some dude in a bar, I thought we had a great time, went home with him, had fun, and then to find out he had a girlfriend, I'd be more hurt than if he started off and then I got to make the choice of being the third wheel in their relationship. So I think it's just about having that, again, just have that conversation. Just tell them, yeah, I'm with someone. And some people are totally fine with it, and that's great. It's just, I want to pick.
Let's consent then.
Yeah.
You're consenting not just to the sex acts, but to the sexual situation.
Yeah, because, it's needed. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
And for some people, they might be exactly looking for someone who's cheating because they do not want to get involved to that level.
I know this older gentleman, and he's married, been married forever, and he outwardly cheats. And when he goes, he finds women that are married because he wants someone in the same situation that he's in. Mm-hmm. So it makes it easier. He also, he told me that he does it for the fact that he doesn't want them to get, if they were a single person he was doing, that they would get more attached. Whereas if someone else has another partner, you can just kind of come and go as you please. Mm-hmm. So it just makes things a lot easier. But it's out there, he always goes in, I'm married, I'm looking for this, which is great. But
does she know?
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those, I'm pretty sure.
Well, sometimes people don't want to know. They know, but they don't want to know. And they're like, if this is going to happen, I would just rather not know. Mm-hmm. And it's not a deal breaker for them. Doesn't make it okay, but I guess that's a whole nother episode. What are your thoughts, Thomas?
About the bystander or the third party?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been a third party before, and
Me too.
but I think in the one-off situations, it didn't matter to me. Like I don't ask people. I don't say, you know, are you cheating on somebody when we, you know, go to hook up or whatnot, as may be the case. I don't ask, and I think maybe that is, you know, ignorance is bliss. But I would agree with your earlier comment that for me, it's somebody else's behavior, and I don't know their life situation. And in the case of a hookup, I don't care to know their life situation beyond the areas that are important to me. Now, I understand then that might make me an accomplice to hurting someone else, and for that I don't feel great about myself. But that's also, you know, something that I live with in my life at this point, and that's sort of where I'm okay because I can't control other people's behavior.
Yeah. For me, what I settled on is on the profile line something like, I don't want to be the person you cheat with, but I don't double check in with that. So it's almost just a thing of like, I mean, I know that I'm basically saying like, lie to me, you know, or just keep your mouth shut sort of situation. But I did, I guess I put out what I'm consenting to. And if you decide to break that by lying to me, then that's your decision. But when I'm in those spaces where there's not a lot of communication about much of anything, you know, I'm not asking. I mean, they've decided to attend this event where folks are engaging with each other very casually, and then that is on them. But yeah, it's the ongoing situations, and I have engaged in ongoing situations where we knew the other person was cheating, and that their partner either didn't know or would be upset if they knew, or suspected and was upset, and so there was no question about it that it was not good. Right, and that was what was really troubling to some of my other partners at the time. And they're like, you know, I thought more highly of you than that. I thought, you know, I thought more highly of me than that too, which is interesting because I don't necessarily think that makes you a bad person, but and in fact, I don't think it makes you a bad person, but it didn't fit with how I think of and define myself, if that makes sense. To knowingly be a party to and continue to be a party to, for some reason that's different for me than a one-time situation where I suspect it. I don't know. Do you think it's different? You can be judgy. It's okay.
You know, I'm really struggling with this. Wow, this is like one of those...
It's complicated,
Yeah,
right?
I know. I'm like,
It's
what's so deep?
Well, and how much are you responsible for other people, right? It is, yeah.
Oh,
the dildo's on the table. It's just
I know. I feel like I'm talking into the
There's
dildo
vulvas
now.
too. Yeah, that's your microphone now.
Hello.
It will never come in your face, so don't worry.
Oh, thank you.
That was from an earlier episode.
Well, I just, you know, for me, I find it hard to feel like I can be in control of other people's life decisions. I want to be. God, that's who I am as a person.
Yeah.
I love being in control. But to do that in that sort of way, I almost feel like it's pushing into their privacy level to a certain level that in a hookup situation or even in a long-term relationship that I haven't been invited into the pair, I just don't know that it's, at what point is it my right to know information? And I'm struggling there.
There's a slippery slope, though. If it's somebody that you're getting together with repeatedly and they're cheating on someone else, they'll probably eventually start talking about it. Or maybe people just talk to me about stuff all the time anyway, personally and professionally. But then where's the line? Like, well, actually, I don't want to hear about that person. Or, you know, I don't want to hear about your bad days in general. That's not why we're getting together. But then, you know, at what point then is the line drawn? This becomes complex. This becomes very complicated. Yeah. So I know that in my non-monogamous relationship, one of my requirements, so when you're consensually non-monogamous, what gets defined as cheating can become much more complex, and it's not necessarily about having sex with other people, although it could be. So, you know, in my non-monogamous relationship, being dishonest about testing is basically equivalent to cheating, or not telling other people that I have sex with that I have primary relationships and it's consensually non-monogamous is actually being being unfaithful to the situation. So if nobody's talking about anything, then that's fine. You don't have to say anything about it. But if there is more communication about situations that are ongoing, the rule is, and what I've happily negotiated with my primary partners is that I say, like, I'm in a consensually non-monogamous relationship. I have a few primary partners. I'm not looking for any more primary partners at this time. I'm looking for this relationship to be this, that, or the other. Or, if I am open to other primaries, and I don't just put that line in there. But right now I'm full, so I'm not. But that's also getting other people's consent. They know this is not going to turn into something more than that, and I want them to know that, so that we're all on the same page with it and cool about it. But yeah, so I always have to mention that, and if unless it's a no communication sexual situation, and so to not do so would actually be akin to being unfaithful to my current relationships. So that's been an interesting thing too, to watch other people try to process that. And I've had people say, like, can I actually check in with one of your other, like, can I know that the other person knows I'm there? I'll be like, yeah, if you come to my house, you'll see him in the living room. So there's those sorts of things too, which is interesting. I've encountered folks who said, oh, my partner knows I'm doing this, but they don't ever want to meet you or hear about you or anything like that, which always just makes me wonder, do they really know? Which is, that's a legit boundary, but I always wonder about that too.
Yeah, but if you're wondering about that, then, like, again, it's that slippery slope.
How
like,
personal do you get?
Yeah. Like, at what point do you truth check them and not truth check them? And then if you are doing it but not to the full extent, does it really count?
Yeah, which is interesting. It'd just be so much less complicated if they just lied to me. Yeah.
I prefer that, yeah. Like, if it was just a one-time go, I'd ask. And again, if they lied to me, I would still take that lie, because it's one time, I don't really know you, and I would assume that you're giving me...
What's your responsibility, to be honest?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You choose not to. I'm going to believe what you tell me.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was something ongoing and I was always the third party, I wouldn't want to know anything about their other partner.
So it would be a boundary to set up. Don't talk to me about this stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Can't handle it. I wouldn't, but that's, again, like, I would have a hard time being that third party for a longevity of time, because I think that I would get too connected, because I'd be like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Oh, her? Oh. That'd be tough.
Yeah.
Well, and it gets into that borderline of, emotional cheating versus physical cheating. And, if you're just getting together and having sex, that's one thing for me. If I'm now there as your emotional relationship as well, and doing emotional cheating, I don't know, there's just so many layers here. God, we could do a full hour on this.
Well, I mean, emotional cheating is interesting too, because that's another thing in my consensually non-monogamous relationship, is to what degree is it appropriate to complain about or disclose details about, positive or negative, about partners to other partners. Right. And I remember one situation I was in a long time ago where I knew that the person that I was getting together with repeatedly was cheating, and they weren't saying anything about it. But then the significant other that they were cheating on had a medical issue occur, and they were really distraught. And they started crying in the middle of things, and then they disclosed that to me, and then, like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Oh. Right? This timing of this is not good, but I am not this person, and and that was a point where I was like, well, okay, really, this backs up what other partners at the time were telling me, like, don't get involved with stuff. I was like, and now it has become complicated, and I wish I had heeded that advice sooner. Absolutely.
So we're getting close to the end of this show, and I mean...
Let's not end on that story of something I did that was terrible. Can we have something better?
End on a high. So.
Yeah, maybe we can all think about a positive...
Think about what you've done, Ruth. Think about what you've done.
We can still, finish off on this conversation, or we can just, do a sharp cut and just do a fun...
Please, rescue me.
So, all right, we're just gonna...
Cookies. What's your favorite kind of cookie, Thomas? I had a butter shortbread cookie earlier today, and it was delicious.
Oh.
I had a ginger snap today.
Yeah. Oh, ginger snap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Yes. Delightful.
I had this blueberry and almond oatmeal cookie today.
Oh.
We all had cookies today. I'm so proud of us. That's wonderful. In my Safer Sex kit, I always keep a bar of chocolate so that I can give people desserts afterwards.
That's really nice.
I know. It's nice, but also, like, if I was mediocre, at least you got chocolate.
Everyone's gonna be happy.
All right. So that's a good note. So thank you so much for joining us for this episode, Dorothy. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yay. Thanks for co-hosting with me as always, Thomas.
Well, thank you, Ruthie. I really appreciated us delving into this topic of cheating and everyone's openness to discussing and learning new things and recognizing that we're all working through different processes. And on a 30-minute radio show, we've done pretty good.
Yeah, we got pretty deep. All right, go us. Thank you all for listening, and we hope that you will sign in for the next episode. Got a question for Sexually Charged Radio? Send it to asksc@uoguelph.ca. But please do note that not all questions are guaranteed a response or acknowledgement on the show. We'll let you know if your question's been selected for discussion. Your name will be omitted from the show, but your question will be read out loud if selected. This account is monitored by a peer wellness educator from the Wellness Education Center at the University of Guelph, not by the host of this program.